Okay, today I'm making a spaghetti bake and I'm actually making half of the amount I usually make, but I'm going to give you full amounts. So first you'll need 16 ounces of half and that is half whole milk and half heavy cream. I'm also going to use 12 ounces of shredded mozzarella cheese. I'm using the block mozzarella and 6 ounces of grated Parmesan cheese. You'll also need 1 pound of spaghetti noodles. I'm using the kind that are already pot ready, meaning they're broken in half. You can do what you like. I thought this was kind of cool. And I'm also using 2 cloves of minced garlic and 1 small onion chopped. You'll also need a pound to a pound and a half of lean ground beef and 24-ounce jar of your favorite spaghetti sauce. And again, I'm using half amounts today. And salt and pepper to your preference. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to start with is making the meat sauce, and it's really easy. So on my stove, I've been preheating a skillet, and I've already added around 2 tablespoons of olive oil. So now I'm going to start sauteing the onion, and I'm going to saute these just for around a minute, and then I'll add the garlic and just continue to saute until the onions are soft and translucent. Okay, and once everything is sauteed, I'm going to add my meat. And one thing when you're seasoning your meat, you want to do it to your preference, and I'm just going to use salt and pepper, and I actually don't add it until after everything's browned. I'm not saying that's right. I actually forgot to add it at this point, but if you want to season your meat, you can do so at this point. And again, you don't have to use just salt and pepper. You can add some garlic powder, onion powder, all seasoning, whatever seasonings you use in your kitchen. I just find salt and pepper really easy. So I'm going to add that now before I forget. And again, it's going to be salted to your preference. For a half pound of meat, which is what I'm using today, I'm probably going to use like a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. But for a full pound to a pound and a half, maybe somewhere between a half teaspoon and a full teaspoon. Again, use the seasonings and spices of your choice. Okay, so now that my ground beef is cooked and the onions are translucent, everything's combined well, I'm going to add my spaghetti sauce. And again, I'm using a store-bought spaghetti sauce. Use the store-bought sauce of your choice, or you can make your own. So here, all I'm going to do is give this a really good mix, and I'm going to let it simmer on somewhere between medium to medium low. I don't want it to burn, but I want it to let it simmer for around 15 minutes just to get some of the liquid evaporated, because I do want this to be thick. And I will preemptively say the way I like to do my spaghetti bake, which technically it doesn't bake very long in the oven, but I do like a thick and hearty sauce because I like it to look in layers. So if you are one of those that like to do a spaghetti bake where you mix everything, you probably don't have to cook out any liquid from the sauce. Just mix it right in there with everything. But I'm going to show you how I like to do mine. Okay, so my meat sauce is nice and thick, and some of that sauciness has evaporated, and it's exactly how I like it. So I'm going to set it aside and work on a very simple cream sauce. So here I have a pan, and I'm going to add my half and half. And for those of you that cannot find half and half at your local grocery store, basically use 8 ounces of whole milk and 8 ounces of heavy cream, and there's your half and half. Okay, so I'm going to let this come up to temperature, a very gentle simmer, nothing too high. I'm working with a medium heat, and then I'm going to start adding my cheese. So basically, I am going to add half of the cheese into this cream sauce and then reserve the other half to top everything when it's all assembled. So if you do find that you want more cheese to top this whole bake, you can definitely add more. It's to your preference. I'm just giving you somewhere to start, I guess I should say. And actually, these amounts work fine for me. But again, you're cooking, and if you like things extra cheesy, then go for it. So I am going to just whisk this and combine it until everything is melted into the half and half and everything becomes creamy and smooth. Okay, so at this point, everything is melted and combined. So here I have my noodles cooking, and I like to cook them all the way through because, again, I know I'm calling this a spaghetti bake because I am going to utilize the oven or the broiler at some point, but I'm not really cooking the spaghetti in the oven. So I like to cook it through. So once my spaghetti's done, or to my preference, I am going to add it right into the cream sauce. And this is my favorite part of this bake. You get creamy, cheesy spaghetti noodles, and then you get a thick meat sauce, and then a layer of bubbly golden cheese. And it's as easy and as simple as that. You can definitely play around with the seasonings and herbs and spices in this in your meat sauce. You can get very creative. This is basically a very simple recipe that's very forgiving when it comes to things like extra cheese, extra sauce, and even texturally, you can mix all of this and have a cheesy, creamy pasta sauce. But I like the way it looks when it's in layers in the pan. Okay, so my noodles are mixed. I'm ready to assemble this. And here I have 2 small baking dishes. The full recipe, you can use a 9x13 baking dish, but I'm doing half the recipe and I'm doing 1 small portion and 1 larger portion. So this is why everything looks a little weird in this video, but definitely if you are making the full recipe, it bakes in a 9x13 dish. So I'm going to make these 2 baking dishes with the noodles, and I also sprayed and greased these glass baking dishes. It'll make things a lot easier when you're trying to clean up. Okay, so once I'm done covering this with my cheese that I reserved, I am going to bake this uncovered. Now you can do this 2 ways. Sometimes I like to bake it in the oven, in a preheated oven at 450 degrees on the upper top rack for around 10 minutes or until the cheese is golden brown and bubbly. Or you can put this in a broiler setting on high for around 2 to 3 minutes, again, until your cheese is bubbly and golden brown. And I want to show you, I've already made some delicious cheesy garlic bread, and for that recipe, I will leave a link in the description below if you want to see how I made this, and it goes great with a delicious, easy spaghetti bake. Okay, so once my bake is done, I'm going to remove it from the oven, and as you can see, all I ultimately did was just wait until the cheese melted and got some color on it. So I'm just going to garnish this with some lightly dried parsley. You can use fresh parsley or dried parsley or exclude it because it's delicious either way. So once I'm done garnishing it, you'll want to let it set for at least 10 to 15 minutes before serving, or you can dig right in. But I want to show you. My husband loves this, and I made him the smaller portion. And if you want to see him put this away, I will leave the link to his channel. So in the meantime, I hope you guys give this recipe a try. I hope you like it, and thanks for watching.